when you start to get to the money and you start to grow up as an individual, you know that it isn't about you anymore. What I mean by that, you get married, you have kids, you know that it's not about you anymore, right? I mean, like this, at least that's how I position myself. I've learned that at a young age, from the time that I got married, I recognized that the things that I do in life and the way how I have to position myself, it's not about me anymore because I'm responsible for a lot more people. And the whole point of this show today is really to talk about implications, guys. When you go and you navigate in your career, you have to recognize that the moves that you make have financial implications on yourself, on your family, all the people that you support. It has implications on the company that you work for, the people that you keep in your circles, and so forth. So I want for us to think about better ways or to look at other people's situation so that we don't make those same mistakes. I want you to think about other people's situations, and we've seen it multiple times. We've seen it from the athletes, entertainers, and I'm going to talk about an athlete today, but we've also seen it from people who are in tech as well too. Most recently, it was a gentleman who used to work at Apple, one of the senior vice presidents of HR, and he said something when he was in his car when a gentleman walked up to him and asked him what he did in his career, and he said something based on a movie reference, but it had a sexual innuendo in it, and he got fired out of his tech career working for Apple, making millions of dollars. We've seen it happen. What's up, ladder climbers? It's Antoine Wade. I wanted to interrupt this video to talk to you guys about Course Careers. Course Careers is the place that you guys need to go if you have a high interest into tech sales. They will help you gain the skills that you need so that you can enter the tech sales world to make a whole bunch of money. Tech sales salaries early on is about $60,000, guys. That's a good salary. And with OTEs, you can make anywhere from $85,000 to $90,000. If you have an interest in tech sales, check out Course Careers, link in the description. And don't forget to use Antoine50 so that you can get a $50 discount off of Course Careers. See you guys in tech sales. Right? So today, I'm just going to bring it back to the level of an entertainer, something that we can all understand, a basketball player and so forth. It's March Madness. And plus, I don't want to think too much. I want to bring it down to that level to show you how your career or the things that you do have implications in many, many ways. And we should be learning from the mistakes of others. So if you guys don't know who Ja Morant is, so Ja Morant is a guard from for the Memphis Grizzlies out of Memphis. And he was most recently handed a 8-game suspension by the NBA following an off the court altercation that he had at a nightclub, right? Basically, he was in a nightclub and he was turning up, having a good time. You know how you young guys do it, man. And I was that guy as a young guy too, having fun and so forth, going to nightclubs, strip clubs and all this other stuff and having a good time, right? One of the things that he did though was he branded a gun inside of a nightclub, right? And that is against the law. You can't have, firearms inside of nightclubs and so forth. So the NBA suspended him, okay? And he got suspended for 8 games. In the suspension, it causes a significant blow to the Memphis Grizzlies, who he plays for, right? So you think about, a team that has invested into a star, because he is a star player. The guy is explosive. He's pretty good looking dude. He seems to come from a good family with his mother and father supporting him and friends and so forth. But he made a big mistake. And this is not only the first time, or this is not the first time that he's gotten into trouble, okay? And his absence, affects the team's performance because he's a leader on that team. He's one of the best scorers in the NBA, and it impacts their playoff chance as well too. So the incident sparked conversations around player conduct and the importance of maintaining a professional image both on and off the court for people who are in the NBA. And it's no different for us as well too. We are in the tech space, right? The things that we do, whether we go to the strip clubs and turn up and so forth, the things that we do can impact the companies that we work for. The things that we do can impact the people that we were responsible for supporting. And that's the exact same thing with Ja Morant, right? And, with high profile athletes like Ja Morant, they're often under intense scrutiny because they are expected to serve as role models to fans and young players. When you are the face of the league or you're a basketball player, a big name, and you're on TV for, a good 40 something games, and you have a lot of people that invest in, go to games, and, their kids are looking up to you and so forth. You're serving as a role model, even if you're at the age of 23 and you don't know shit at all. You are still serving as a role model. Now, is that right? I'm not to say, I'm not here to say if that's right or not. I think role models should be the people who are in your house, the people who are, almost on at, a level where you can actually touch them and so forth, right? But, if Ja Morant is a role model for you, that's great, right? I got to say it. Growing up, Kobe Bryant was a role model for me in the world of basketball. So the NBA and the Memphis Grizzlies, their organization, expressed their disappointment in the actions of Ja Morant, right? He's on TV. He's on, social media, brandishing a gun, right? So, he really impacted his career a lot. And I haven't even spoke about the financial implications of it yet, and we'll get there. But during the suspension, what I read was that Morant was required to participate in anger management courses and community service. And this was a measure to help him learn from this incident to ensure that these things don't happen anymore, okay, or in the future, right? So that's the baseline, guys. That's where we're starting from. This brother, a fantastic basketball player from South Carolina, plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a guard. He was suspended for 8 games. And you guys know the NBA pays their players per game. So 8 games for somebody who's making a whole lot of money is a lot of money that's impacting him. Okay. He made a mistake. He made a mistake. And he came out and said most recently that he was sorry. Okay. He said that he was most recently sorry, and I believe that came out a day or so ago. But here are some key points that I want you guys to really think about, right? Here are some key points I want you guys to think about. His suspension will cost him a lot of money. You guys know, as an NBA player or as NBA players, their salary is based on the number of games that they play. And each game that is missed to a suspension, it's going to impact his overall pay, which impacts himself, impacts his daughter, impacts the people that he supports. Okay. The Memphis Grizzlies, guys, they may be facing short-term revenue loss because of his absence, right? If you are a star player for an organization, people are coming to see you. Kids want to go to the game to see you. Adults want to go to the game to see you dunk on somebody. That's impacting the organization's money, right? As he's one of the, the top draws, this is going to lead to lower revenue from ticket sales to the overall merchandise that's actually being bought for Ja Morant. The Grizzlies themselves, right? Their brand could be negatively impacted as well too, right? Because of the publicity and, choosing guys who are going to showcase this type of behavior. So, your personal brand is being impacted. The company that you keep, the company that's responsible for employing you, their brand is being impacted. Their revenues being, will potentially go down because you're missing, right? They have to now invest in public relations efforts and rebuild his image. That's a huge investment on them. It costs a lot of money when you make these sort of mistakes, guys. And you have to think about, is this, what you want? You have to think about, is this what you want? Because again, it's no longer about you. When you come into these positions and, you have people depending on you, you have to conduct yourself in a way where these people can continue to depend on you. They can continue to depend on you. And if you don't, you're going to see how much it's going to impact you, and it's going to impact the others that are around you as well, too. Okay. And you got to think about this for his future, right? This incident can potentially impact future contract negotiations. I mean, let's just say this guy is going to get 200 something million for 5 years, whatever it is. They're probably going to say, you know what, man, we've seen based on your past behavior, whether it's right or wrong, because some of you guys would be like, he's just 23. And I agree. I agree to that aspect of his age, but this can potentially cause for future contract negotiations to not be in his favor. Okay. So, this suspension is not only impacting him, but it's impacting his team. It's impacting, the opportunity for his team members to get to the playoffs, potentially win a championship and so forth. So, I just want for you guys to understand that there are consequences to your mistakes, right? The consequences to his mistakes was financial consequences for both him and the Memphis Grizzlies, right? Mistakes in your career can have repercussions, missed promotions, damaged professional reputation, or even sometimes your ass can get fired in a tech space, right? We've seen that happen all too often as well, too. There was a couple videos on YouTube of, back in 2020 and 2021, where individuals would literally go to the office and record a day in their life. Well, HR got a hold of those videos and fired those individuals because you're not supposed to be, recording content inside of an office building, especially if that's your HR policies. So there's consequences to your mistakes. There's impact to your personal brand, right? A high profile individual like, Ja Morant, this can harm his personal brand and his marketability. It's the same thing for you, right? When you make significant mistakes in your tech career, it can impact you negatively in your professional image, right? If you're that type of person that was like the Apple SVP of HR making those sexual innuendos and so forth, that can impact his career because people are going to be like, his judgment is bad. He's making $1 million a year and all of a sudden that's stripped from under him, right? Other thing is too, learning from your mistakes, guys. So in both in sports as well as your tech career, it is crucial to learn from your mistakes. And typically you don't want to learn from your mistakes. You want to learn from the mistakes of others, right? And use those experiences to grow and improve yourself. And Morant's incident, it might prompt him to work on his impulse control and his communication skills, while, us that are in tech, we can learn from, learn new ways to prevent similar behavior from happening in the future. And another thing that this is impacting is also, you have to think about damage control. What the Memphis Grizzlies have to do from a PR perspective. And think about this in your eyes, if you were to make a mistake like this in a high profile position, or even in a position where you're just starting off for a corporation. Damage control. You have to rebuild trust, right? So Ja Morant, he has to rebuild trust for throughout his organization. And you as a tech professional, if you were to have some sort of slip up, whether that's flirting with some woman or flirting with some guy or doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, right? Going to bars and, slipping up at the, tongue when you're at a company event or something along those lines, you will have to potentially rebuild your trust to your team members or your teammates, your employer, your clients, and so forth, if that information gets out there. And it's important, guys. And this is where, when I heard about this whole thing, I was like, where is his mentors? Where are Ja Morant's mentors, his guidance, his coaches, and so forth, right? We need people in our corner that can help us with challenges that we're going through, whether it's just him getting used to the league and getting all this money and being able to do and have a bunch of freedom because he's somewhat financial free. He can have access to a lot of things, maybe not to people, that has more money than him, but he can pretty much have access to a lot of things, and money opens the door for him. And not only that, his fame and so forth, right? It opens the door for a lot of things, but it's important to have mentors and guidance in your life at all levels. His mentor or his father should have been like, hey man, you can't operate like that. Or his, coaches, hey, you can't operate like that, man. Like I'm constantly hearing that you are getting into trouble, slapping up high school kids, whatever it is. You got to put yourself in a better position, my man. Same for you guys. You're in your tech career. You're doing stuff that is pretty silly because you're just now getting to the money. You need to have mentors, coaches that you can rely on that's going to give you the game, give you some insights, give you the support that you need, give you advice on how to navigate challenging situations to avoid them being costly mistakes. So guys, the impact can be big. And I wanted to just draw some parallels to us in tech, right? Us in tech. And I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys about what do you guys think about Ja Morant, the mistakes that he's made. Is this common? Is this something that we're going to see in tech? Is this sort of a culture going to come into tech? I don't know, but what I would say is there's a lot to learn from this. And just because we are in the tech space, there's stuff that we can learn from his experience, even at the age of 23 years old or 24, however he is, that we should, take and say, this is how I should be able to coach individuals or what not to do, and even for ourselves, how not to conduct ourselves in certain situations.